We are going to discuss today the big announcement made by the Defense Minister, but I'm a little skeptical. Can the negative list announced by Defense Minister Rajnath Singh really work? 101 defense items to be banned from imports from their respective embargo dates starting December 2020 later this year. The devil obviously lies in the details, and I have Amar Govindarajan to talk us through it. Amar, the very first question, can the negative list approach work? Your quick comments on that, please.
Sure. See, you have to start looking at this particular negative list as one part of a long running continuum, right? In 2005, which is almost 15 years ago, is when we actually started running the defense offsets program, where we are asking companies to actually buy a percentage of whatever they are selling to India, a small percentage of it, maybe 5 to 30%, depending on the contract, or to be sourced from India. So this program started in 2005. The objective was simple. You have to try and promote local manufacturing of defense equipment, and this was a way to get it going. So this effort, this whole indigenization effort, actually started in 2005. In a sense, so to speak, the idea of promoting private industry participation also. So look at it as just one more effort in the long running continuum. Secondly, a lot of components in this 101 items list are already being made in India, so I don't see a lot of trouble in sort of avoiding importing those kind of equipment into the country. Lastly, and the most important one, is that we've actually run out of money. Forces are not getting large amounts of dough for capex expenditure. This has been the case in the last in fact, more than 4 years now. So what will the forces do? They would they are better off looking for local equipment suppliers who may be slightly more affordable, and even better, the money is being plowed into the Indian economy. So there is no money, and the government has gone further and divided the account heads into a domestic capex account head, which means about 50 odd thousand crores have been set aside for buying from India, and the remaining has been left aside to continue importing. So three reasons really. One is that we've already laid some groundwork for this. Some of the equipment has already been developed and can be manufactured in India. And lastly, we've run out of money, and the government is signaling very, very strongly that it wants to buy locally.
Amar, but I'll have to stop you there. See, you said that the process started in 2005 and we're already manufacturing a lot of components. So why actually have a new import list? Why have a new negative list? Putting the products which you're already manufacturing in India into a negative list, isn't this an exercise in repetition, an exercise in futility, as some would say?
No, that would be a very simple way of looking at it. You could have the opposition looking at the list and say, but look, you're already making most of these stuff, so what is the point of putting it in a negative list? You can always buy it locally. But the point is, a foreign vendor could try and price their products, which you already make locally, at a slightly lower price than what is being made in India. They obviously have global economies of scale. A company in the US is obviously selling to a lot more countries than India is, right? And also they come with a huge industrial base, which allows them to quickly upgrade their product. So how do you protect and continue nurturing Indian products, make sure they are continuously upgraded and so on? You put them in a negative list and say, look, we've shown the capability to develop this and manufacture this, and we want to continue doing this, and therefore we are putting them in a negative list. Well, obviously some are already being made, so there is no effort needed. That does not mean you can, leave the option for importing them open. So that is the reason why you keep items that you can already make in the negative list. You sort of preempt any attempts by outsiders to get again a foothold in the Indian market.
But Amar, I have this one last question on the screwdriver tech approach we use. We get the parts, or we import the parts from outside, we assemble them in India, and we call it an Indian product, right? But aren't we already seeing that for a lot of offset programs where parts are imported from outside, assembled in India, and other conditions are also met? So what is really different here?
No, see, the assembling, the screwdriver giri does not really, if you stop with simply assembling the components, it really does not mean that you have actually learned to make the components, or that you've learned to make the weapon system itself locally. right? There have been a lot of cases in the past where all we have done is learn to assemble screwdriver gearing. That's all. We have not learned to actually localize the components in there, or try to evolve an ecosystem based on both the knowledge side and on the industrial base. We have not really developed any long-term industrial capability. In some cases, but in some cases we have actually gone on and learned to localize a lot of components, but this takes a lot of time, right? Over 20 years, 15 years, you slowly learn to make a few components here, a few components there, and eventually you acquire an industrial base, you acquire industrial know-how, you acquire a team of people who know how to deal with this, who know how to develop components, and so on and so forth. And eventually you have a defense industrial ecosystem and a military industrial complex. So that is how you go about it. But how do you go about making a plane? You have to start to learn to assemble one in the first place. So assembling is bad if you are planning on stopping with assembling. There have been a lot of cases where that has happened, but there have also been cases where we've learned more than assembling. We've learned to localize a lot of components also. So you have to start somewhere. Learning to assemble is not a bad place to start. It lowers the entry barriers for a lot of private companies. So this is a good start. We have to start somewhere. This negative list is a good place to start.
Well, Amar finally concluded that we need to start somewhere. And this brings me back to a video we did in Swarajya Standpoint a few days ago, where the problems with defense procurement were discussed. And one can really hope that this approach of starting at least somewhere will solve some of those issues. Thank you, Amar, for this wonderful insights. Thank you for watching.
Thank you.